Well, hello there again, friends. Welcome back to the channel. Grab your cup of coffee and a seat, because I'm Paulie, and this is Paulie's Power Hour. All right, so what do we got? We got Colton working on his brakes. You got KITT stereo taken apart. Why? I'll tell you why. Because the other day I was coming back from a car show and I had the stereo on all day because that's how KITT talks. And I noticed on my way home the stereo was cutting out. Now it's really easy to tell because I have his 6x9s and subwoofer wired to the amplifier. Now if that fails for whatever reason, I could still make the car talk because I still have the front channels, and I'll explain that later on. So it was cutting out, and I figure it was a heat related thing because, well, I'm an electronics technician, so I know these things, right? So I think it was Mike Finnegan was installing an amplifier in the OG Roadkill ramp truck, and when he was doing it, he was making little spacers. So I Googled it, and people put spacers, and they space it for air to flow and pass underneath this thing to help with cooling. Sure. So I was gonna do that. I started taking it out, and I looked at the bottom of it, and I noticed that it was a little dusty. So I said, well, let me take it apart and see if it's dusty inside. It wasn't. But what I did find was this. So these are heat sinks, okay? It uses this aluminum case as a heat sink to wick the heat away from these transistors, which is what provides your amplification. These are capacitors. Don't touch them. They'll kill you. Well, not kill you, but they'll hurt you, right? I already did this one. So each of these transistors is bonded by heat sink compound, like in your computer, this, to this heat sink here, right? This heat sink, like a moisture wicking shirt, wicks the heat off of the transistor and help keeps it cool. Heat is the enemy of electronics and computers in general. Use your phone a lot, gets real hot, right? Cool. So what this does is it wicks the heat off of these into this, right? And then via this compound transfers it to this, which really, I mean, this whole thing is aluminum. So it uses the whole body of this thing as a heat sink. And if you have crappy compound, just like a computer, it's not going to cool properly. And you're going to have slowdowns in your computer and issues and yada, 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 crap like that. So what we're going to do is take each of the rest of these heat sinks off and reapply the heat sink compound to each of these transistors, put it back in, and we're going to put the heat sink compound on these, put the board back on there, reassemble the amplifier, install it back in the car, and maybe go to a car show if we have time. I don't know, we'll see. So let's do it. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is each of these screws for this transistor has to come off. I already removed the screws on the bottom that hold the heat sink to the board. All right, now, I've never seen these pieces of paper that go in between the big transistors and the heatsink. I don't know what that's all about. I'm still going to clean them up and put them back in. So what I'm using some 91% isopropyl alcohol. I've got a couple of Q-tips for getting the backs of the transistors. And then, of course, my microfiber just to wipe that stuff off. So here's the fun part, the cleanup. Alright, so now I'm going to take my heatsink compound and I'm going to apply just a little dot, a little dab to the back of each of these. And I'm also going to reinstall, like I said, I don't know why these are here, but the factory put them there. Got to be there for a reason. So they're going back on here. Alright, this end goes down. Alright, so we're tight along the top, and as you can see, I got pretty good smush on these. So I'm going to grab the Q-tip and kind of clean that up a little bit, just because I'm like that. I got these things as straight as possible. Kind of do this side, and then I think when I put it back together, I'm actually going to put the compound on these, and then lay the board back in, and then screw it all back together. So, yay! You can see that they got a halfway decent smush on this from the factory, but look at this, this is hard. Like, this is part of the reason why I don't think this has good thermal protection anymore. So we're gonna get all this crap off of here, clean these transistors up, put this last one on, put it back together, and hopefully I've got some booming stereo here soon. Now I'm gonna apply my heatsink compound in here. You don't want to sand this. You want this to be as smooth as possible to aid in heat transfer. So I'm just going to make an S. Like so. This. Gently place it. I put power to it and it didn't catch on fire, and it's working right now. It's been going for what, about a half hour? Yeah. I've just been bumping this pretty bass heavy Knight Rider remix, so yeah, I think it works. You can feel it's getting pretty warm, but I think that's just because of the improved transfer of heat. Like where all the heat sinks are, it's really warm. So that's a good sign. I like that. Especially right here. Holy cow, that's hot. So there we go. Don't discount your old parts. If you can take them apart and fix them, take them apart and fix them. Don't be afraid. You can take anything apart. It's putting it back together. That's the rub. Right?
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
You have no idea what I just said, do you?
100%, you're right. You can take it apart, put it back together brand new. That's right.
Yeah, well.
Save some money.
So that's it. It's a short one.
That'll do it.
Save yourself some money. I mean, this was $15 hairs instead of buying a $250 amp, which I still might have to do. I don't know yet, but it's been going for about a half hour. It's getting really warm, but it's transferring the heat, so I'm happy about that. So I'm going to close it off there. You know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, share it with all your friends, and you guys keep it between the ditches and you come back and see me.